Three, two. All right, it's time to talk with our featured guest, Dr. Jordan Sanders. Jordan, how's it going, man?
It's going well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for that. Thanks for calling me, sir. That's like I feel like yes, yes, sir. Yes, man. Yeah, you got it. But nah, we're cool, man. We're cool. So if you can tell us a little bit about your past, your present, how did you get to where you are today?
Okay. Yeah. So, I'm, as you know, Canadian. So I grew up in a small town very close to where I currently practice. My parents were both physicians. So, I kind of had this exposure to the healthcare industry from an early age. And I saw what they did and I said, nah, no, thanks. Uh, and very gradually, I kind of got into the whole idea of jumping into dental. Um, so I went to undergrad. I did a chemistry degree very close to my hometown.
Mhm.
That's where I met my wife. We moved to Vancouver, which is where the dental school in British Columbia is, and spent 4 years there, and then came right back home. So we jumped back into this small town, I guess, life.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, I worked. I'm about 6 years out of dental school now,
Mhm.
and spent a bunch of time trying to just working in some other clinics, kind of getting some experience, and then realized very quickly that I kind of needed to do my own thing. I needed to blaze my own trail here. So opened up my current dental office in March of this year, which is all kinds of crazy. But yeah, that's kind of how I got to where I am now.
So you just opened it up this
Yeah,
year?
yeah. So we opened March 2021, and so this is getting on to our month number 10, I guess.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's been, the prospect of opening a startup is always super scary. The town that I live in is about 150,000 people, and there's close to 100 dental offices in the town. So it's very, very saturated, but growing like crazy. Like we have probably one of they call us the California of Canada. It's just kind of funny, but a really, really up and coming town. Lots of people are moving here from out of province, out of country, and so we're
Mhm.
growing like the area is growing very rapidly. Um, but yeah, definitely still saturated market. Lots of dentists already here, so it was a scary prospect to begin with.
Yeah. Look, if we could,
Mhm.
Jordan, let's rewind a little bit and talk about why did you decide, nah, not for me, what your parents were doing?
Oh man, they were family doctors before they retired,
Mhm.
and I don't the we lived in this smaller kind of logging community, um, about 7 hours from where we currently are. And they were basically, when you're a doctor in that town, you're the everything. You're the person delivering the babies. You're the person, you're up, you're on call. So they were
Mhm.
doing 100 hour work weeks,
Jeez.
at home at night, writing chart notes on the kitchen table. Like it was brutal. Like they looked miserable. So
Really?
yeah. And it's maybe not as common in bigger centers, but still, the doctor route, like all the props to them for being able to do what they do.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I remember my parents always laughed because I was 5 or 6 years old, and they said, "Oh, do you want to be a doctor when you grow up?" And I said, "No, I want to sleep in my own bed."
Wait, they were never home? Like,
Yeah, they were out a lot, but we made a change, or they made a change when I was about 6 years old, and we moved to the hometown where I grew up.
mhm.
Um, and that lifestyle changed completely for them. Like it was still hard, but there was none of that crazy stuff that they were doing
Yeah.
in those early years. But yeah, even still, it's working in that environment. Like you're definitely dealing with things that you can't necessarily fix. I like to fix things, as
Mhm.
most, I think, dentists do. Um, and so that, instead of just prescribing someone a pill, it's nice to be able to actually get in there and do it yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of factors that pushed me there, but yeah, I guess the earliest memory was that I wanted to sleep in my own bed.
That's crazy, man. Like
Yeah.
it's funny to think like how a lot of the times when we grow up like without money, right? You
Mhm.
start thinking like, man, my goal is like I never want to be I want to help my family, take them out, right? And so you start working more. But the opposite is like, oh yeah, money was money even a thing? I don't know, but I wanted more time. I wanted more time with my parents, more fun. It's you know what I mean? It's a
Totally.
thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. So then fast forward, you got into dental school. You said that's where you met your wife?
No, I met my wife in undergrad, the first undergrad. So I did a chemistry degree at the local university here, and that's where we met.
How old were you when you?
We met when I was 20.
Oh man,
So
and
yeah, I'm 34 now. So we've been together for 14 years. We got married right after first year dental school. So our 10th wedding anniversary next year. So yeah, she's been along for most of the ride.
that's cool, man. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Like at 20, you saw her and you're like, I'm gonna marry you. And then it
Well,
happened.
maybe not. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we didn't have those thoughts early on. I was too busy having fun.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah.
That's cool. Is she a dentist too or no?
No, she's a ICU nurse.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's good. That's good. So you went to dental school. When did the thought come up, Jordan, for you to be like, I want to own my own practice? Or have you always wanted to be like a business owner?
Yeah, I think the idea of owning my own practice was always something that I thought I would do. Like you
Mhm.
don't the thing with dental school is you're well aware, like they don't teach us anything about what that actually means. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of just this, ethereal idea of being a business owner. Um, I think probably after the first couple of years out was when I figured that, yeah, I absolutely need to do this for myself. Like I have a personality that's likes to maybe just, I like to execute things. If I get an idea, I really want to do it.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously working as an associate, that's a lot more challenging. So, it became pretty clear that I either needed to find something to buy or build something myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what year would you say was that in dental school or were you already associating? You're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, that was probably a year out. So I graduated dental school 2015.
Mhm.
So probably 2016, 2017 was when the notion of being an owner became pretty solidified. At the time, the idea of doing a startup wasn't even there. That wasn't even on the table. I was definitely going to buy some established practice and just kind of work with that because everyone told me that doing a startup was crazy. The Everyone's like, this is nuts. There's, you got to go to some middle of nowhere little town if you want to make that work. And we really
Mhm.
wanted to be where we are. So yeah, it was not on the cards until I tried 3 separate times to buy dental practices, and it never kind of panned out. There was always, you know, the dentist didn't talk to their accountant, so they couldn't sell because they couldn't afford to
Yeah.
sell, or like no one was kind of prepared for that particular thing. They wanted to in their head, but when it came time to actually do it, it never panned out. So we just got frustrated. We're just like, let's just build something. Let's just do it.
Yeah. That's risky, man. It's risky.
Super.
Like,
Hmm.
and it's different, I think, right? In Canada, especially acquiring practices and things like that. It's not the same as in US, from what I understand, especially with your marketing. I know it's different, right?
Yeah, yeah. In some perspectives, like we have less of like a DSO type thing in Canada. Like it's coming. Like we have corporate
Mhm.
dental models up here, and they've been pretty instrumental in increasing the prices of dental practices. Like they're offering tons of money to these people that have these practices that are probably not worth it.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's become really tough to find something that's actually worth spending a whole pile of money on.
What was from the three that you looked at that you were trying to acquire, what did you feel like was the closest to what you wanted?
Honestly, none of them. No,
Really?
the well, and you know what it was? It wasn't so much like the patients were great, the location was great. The problem always really came down to the team. Like the team was good in that particular environment,
Hmm.
but the environment that I wanted to build or the ideas that I had, it would have been just an uphill battle the whole way. You're talking about completely revamping systems that have been in place for 20 years and trying to get people on board with that. And there's a lot of resistance to that. We have a staffing crisis basically up in our part of the area. There's no dental staff to go around.
Oh yeah, that's
So
everywhere.
yeah. So why would these people want to go through all of this extra work when they could just go down the street and work for somebody else?
Mhm.
Um, so it became pretty apparent that I just had to have these systems be the thing from day one to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's like one of the biggest issues, or a huge issue when you're acquiring a practice, is like the team, right?
Mhm.
Especially when they're like, let's just say there's like a person there who's like 60 years old, and they're like, Jordan, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive, and then you know what I mean. They tell you all that, and you're like, okay, how do you deal with? I don't know. To me, I feel like that's kind of stressful sometimes. I'm sure there's ways to deal with it, but do you have to? I don't know. So that's the whole issue. So then fast forward even more, you opened up your practice a year, COVID's birthday, basically. Like it's like March COVID,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it was, or
Yeah.
at least when it entered the US. Like, why? Why this time?
Yeah.
Did it ever like concern you at all where you're like, should I wait till like maybe we find, like,
You know what? It did definitely. I would say COVID, as terrible as it has been for everything, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise for this startup because,
Mhm.
we shut down March 2020 for 3.5 months. Like we were all out of work. I spent 3.5 months basically building the foundation of the clinic. Like I had nothing else to do, right? I built this thing up. So it worked out in my favor. I was able to do all these really kind of, tedious setup stuff in those early times to make it happen.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like, it kind of just had to happen. It was already in motion. The lease was already signed. It was like, it wasn't like I could back out at that particular time. Yeah, I was scared. It was a lot of stress being like, oh my God, like what's going to happen here? Are we going to be closed for a year?
Yeah.
I have good friends of mine that did the startup route that opened 3 weeks before shutdown.
Yeah.
Like they're like brand new offices. So I
Yeah.
felt pretty good about that, not being that position. But yeah, like when we came back from that shutdown, people were so excited to come. I've never seen people so excited to come to the dentist. It was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Everyone, like we had all these things in place to try to keep people safe, and we thought people were going to be so timid about coming into a dental clinic. And people are like, man, I've been dealing with this toothache for 3 months. Please just see me. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it was almost busier. It was busier for a lot of these offices that I was associating at while I was building this other practice right after we came back. It was not what we expected.
Yeah. That's good, man. Are you still associating or no? You're full time in your
No.
practice.
Yeah. I didn't. As soon as the practice opened, I went full time.
Okay. You
Mhm.
did the practice that you were associating at, did they take it well or?
I was so fortunate for the last practice that I worked at. I worked with them for about a year and a half, uh, during shutdown and everything. But they hired me knowing full well what I was doing. I said, I'm building a practice
Mhm.
3 kilometers or 2 miles from where you guys are.
Oh,
I just need
wow.
I just need a place to work for a year and a bit. And it was fortunate that they had a role. They needed someone that would come in and work evenings and do their surgeries because they didn't have anyone to do that. So they're like, yeah, absolutely, just come in and do that. That's no problem. They didn't have a problem with it, which was
Yeah.
super fortunate for me. And they were still on really really good terms to this day. But yeah, it was a lucky horseshoe for sure to get that position.
Big time. Then they didn't
Mm-hmm.
make you sign like a non-compete or anything like that?
It was a bit of a weird transition. They got uh, purchased out by one of these bigger corporate entities,
Mm-hmm.
and during the transition, this big corporate entity definitely wanted me to sign something because I hadn't had something signed previously,
Mm-hmm.
and I just basically told them no. And
Yeah.
they didn't like that too much, but they still needed someone to do this role that I was filling, so it kind of worked out.
That's nice, man.
Yeah,
Awesome. So then would it be cool if we dived into your business now?
yeah, please.
Awesome. Okay. So then first and foremost, your loan process. Who'd you go with for your loan? What were the terms of the loan? How much was it?
Yeah, so I'm with Royal Bank of Canada. So I was banking with them since I was a kid, and I did all of my, undergrad education loans through them.
Mhm.
It was actually super painless. Took about 2 weeks. I did some, accountant projections on the business, kind of, had a business plan. I came prepared. Like I met with the banker,
Mhm.
and I had stuff. Like I had an idea. I really sold them on it. And so they gave me 1.6 million at just a little bit under prime minus a quarter, so 2.2%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little different in Canada. Like our costs are a lot higher to
Mhm.
build things and buy things. And the way that the loan worked is it was a $1.4 million loan that was repayable over 12 years. The first 2 years was interest only.
Mhm.
And then the 10-year term was just, you paid it off over the 10 years every month. And then they gave me $100,000 operating line and then $100,000 visa to use within the practice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really good. How do you come prepared? Like, let's just say it's that bank
Yeah.
time. Like for the listeners listening, like, what should I have a business plan? I know that, but what should be in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The business plan was definitely you're just kind of making things up at this point. Like the getting an accountant to do projections was a big thing. Like they really wanted to see what I thought I was going to be able to do based on previous stuff from my associateships.
Mhm.
But just coming with an idea. Like there are a lot of dental offices in most cities these days,
Mhm.
and they're basically saying, okay, well, what are you going to do differently? Like how are you going to outcompete or get patients from the three other clinics that are within walking distance of your place? And so I just kind of jazzed it up and really kind of tried to sell them on my idea of a dental clinic, and it seemed to work. They didn't give me too much of a hard time about anything.
Did you ever, when you decided to present your ideas, are you still with those ideas right now, or did things change
Oh yeah.
drastically? Yeah.
No, well, yeah, I would, like I had kind of built this idea in my head of how I wanted to approach uh, my dental office, and how I wanted to try to, like, everyone tries to be different.
Yeah.
Everyone tries to say, like, we do this thing differently, and the approach that I took, and really it might seem a little bit floofy, but most of the people in my town focus on the technology. Like they're all the advertising that you will see targeted to
Mm.
people is about technology or experience, sedation, laser dentistry, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
um, and I kind of took it on the other side, and I said, how can I make this approach to dentistry feel a little bit more human? Was kind of the thoughts. It's like, how can I take the patient experience and improve it? A lot of this was, I spent a couple of weeks down in San Antonio with Scott Luna at Breakaway, and that
Uh-huh.
was
Uh-huh.
kind of what, his ideas were kind of what pushed me in this direction, and I just took it and ran with it in that direction.
What was the ideas then? Like, what was your idea or your vision for your dental office?
Take a clinic and make it not look like a clinic. So we focused on a lot of elements of how to make this feel more comfortable. Our reception area is very much like a living room. Like it feels kind of like a home.
Yeah.
We have certain training that we went through on the phone. So the phone experience is one thing. We have lots of amenities. We offer coffees and waters, which it might seem really basic, and a lot of offices do it, but we tried to make a point of really having it be something that the staff offer every single person that comes in the door. Do you
Yeah.
want a coffee or water? And then just the in-op experience, offering people weighted blankets, memory foam pillows, noise canceling headphones. We do the warm face towel thing after the appointments are done. And it was just a big push in that kind of direction, like offering people all of these different touch points to the brand, getting people to kind of get this idea cemented in their head that the office as a brand, like I don't want people to come into the clinic and think, hey, this is Dr. Sanders' clinic. I want them to come in and have the brand of the office be what they see and be what they remember. And so we
Yeah.
pushed it in that direction. I tried to kind of almost remove myself from it a little bit
Yeah.
because, if the person has such a good experience before you even see them, it doesn't matter who does the dentistry at the end of the day, as long as it's done well. And
Mhm.
that was kind of the idea. I didn't want it to be so much about me. I wanted people to have just that general experience of being really well taken care of.
So is the idea a little bit down the road, like for you to hire associates, and then after that, you're like, you know what, I don't want to be, I would work one day out of the week, maybe, you know what I mean?
No,
Or,
I really like dentistry. Like honestly, I would love to hire an associate. Like I built the office for two.
Mhm.
Dentistry is a lonely profession. We spend a lot of time just hanging out with our staff in the office without necessarily someone else to talk to. So
Yeah.
I wanted to have someone come in and to work with me. Maybe one day a partner. That would be awesome. I don't want a 14, 15 chair kind of monstrosity of a practice. I want a seven op, just family kind of oriented space, and something that I can go in and do what I like. And
Mhm.
it's still, I like working 4 days a week. It's pretty slick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like going back, do you mind if I share screen really quick?
Shoot.
Like,
Yeah.
because I know for the ones who by any chance, if you guys are just listening to this on the podcast, you can go in the show notes below and look at the video portion of this podcast. Just watch us. But I'm sharing the screen on there. And I was looking at your website. Before we even got on, I was looking at your website. And immediately I was like, Yeti vibes. Like, you know what I mean? Like the brand Yeti or something. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
man, this looks like not even like a dental office. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, where can I get away for an experience like this? Which is cool,
Yeah.
man. And I like how
Yeah.
like at the very end, then it says like, oh, accepting new patients. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
cool. But you're right. And then when you posted in the making of a dental startup Facebook group, like
Mhm.
your the final product, right? Your
Mhm.
pictures and how everything looks, that wall that you had. It's did you go like you're the one who did all this, like behind the scenes doing all this research, or was it a team, or was it like contractors like, hey, you should do this, or architect?
No, like I was pretty hands on in this process. Like I had two main companies that I could probably point to and say that they were instrumental in all of this. And one was this company that helped do this website and do my marketing and my videos, Buzz Marketing. They're a local company in
In
the
Canada?
town where, yeah, they're
Oh,
right in
okay.
Kelowna, right where I have the practice. They're like 3 minutes down the road from me.
Yeah.
Um, and then Hatch Interior Design was a company that helped. They basically took everything that I spewed on out and did a floor plan for me and helped do the interior design. Like it was a pretty all encompassing service that they did for me.
Mhm.
And they do most of the dental offices in the area where I live, but they were exceptional. I basically said I want to do this thing, and they made it happen.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's the key though, I think, man, is like you actually had that the idea or the vision. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Mm-hmm.
the times, like even I remember sometimes starting out, like for me, like it's like, oh, I just want as many customers as I can possibly have. You know what I mean? I can do this and that's it. So to you, like, what's your ideal? What's your like? If I were to ask you, like, who do you want to see in your practice? Who's the like the best patient? Is it like just anybody with teeth or?
Yeah, we do a lot of services. Like there's not much that I'm not offering to patients, but I would say
Mhm.
our ideal are families. Like we see a ton of families. People come in, parents with their kids, people that are going to be with us for an extended period of time. That's the ideal. We're an insurance driven practice, which is different than it is in the US. But yeah, like those type of patients make up a vast majority of what we do. Um, and they're awesome. Like it's great to kind of have these people in, and you get to kind of be a part of their lives for the 10 minutes that you're interacting with them during an exam, and see the kids grow up. And I've had patients that have followed me from the clinics that I was an associate at previously, so that's been super cool. But yeah, those are kind of the ideals.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Like that
Mm-hmm.
kind of shows that you care. You know what I mean? Like when you're like, I get to be a part of your life for a little bit. You know what I mean? That's a really good. Put that somewhere, man. Put that on a bumper sticker or something. That's really good. Like what you said. But okay, so going back to the business, how much in total was your build out?
The build out was everything that they lent me. It
Oh,
was
wow, really?
it was about 1.4 million bucks, and I'll the as a bit of perspective, like when the contractors did the bids for me,
Mm-hmm.
our cost was about 300 a square foot. Like that's kind of what we pay up here to build a dental clinic, which I know is vastly different than some of the build outs in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we spent it all. We spent everything. Smartly though.
Yeah.
It would have cost me 2 million bucks, but I got all of my dental chairs secondhand. I got I got my CT scanner secondhand. Like I really tried to find used equipment where I could. We poured a lot more money into just the inner workings of the office, like the back end, the compressors. We got really like high quality instruments in the back. But I have like 40 TVs in the office, so that was obviously a big expense. But yeah, we spent it all. It was very scary as the bills started to come in, and we're haven't even opened yet. And I'm already $1.5 million in debt, and
Yeah. You're like, what's happening?
Just sweating a little bit. Yeah.
Did you already finish paying off dental school too, or no?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
finished paying up dental school. My wife was working while I was in dental school, so she was definitely helping with that. But yeah, I kind of got into dental school before this crazy. It was still expensive. Like it was probably 180,000 to go to dental school, but now it's getting up there where people are paying $500,000 to go, which is a scary thought.
Yeah, that is true. So where did you get most of your used equipment from?
There was a couple of, honestly, Facebook.
Facebook.
Facebook buy and sell groups. Our local association has a classified section. Like I went to Vancouver and bought 150 like sterilization cassettes for $1,000. Like there was like little things like that. There's a company in Ontario that refurbishes dental chairs, so I got 6 dental chairs from them for $100,000, which was a steal. And then a local dentist was selling his CT scanner for super cheap, so I bought that off him. This is it was networking. It was asking everybody that I knew about, hey, do you have used things that you're not using, and can I buy them?
Yeah. How early do you recommend we should start networking like that, or like start asking about that? You know what I mean?
I think it depends on how committed you are to going the used route. Like it took probably, I was probably looking for used stuff a year before we opened. Just like, so my garage started to get gradually filled up with crap just as it kind of went on. But yeah, it takes a lot of time to find the used stuff, but every now and then something will pop up and it's gem, and it saves you thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Cause I would think like, I mean, if you're looking for like, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to need this stuff like within a month, you're probably not going to find everything. You know what I mean? So you would have to start, like you said, like a year out or something.
Yeah. The US has a lot more used, like online used retailers for dental stuff. Like there's definitely some outlets to find those things in the States a lot easier than up here. But yeah, like a dental chair is a dental chair. Like you don't need necessarily to spend 50 grand on a brand new unit.
Yeah. Cause I know like, like Dentsply and all them, and they sell really pricey chair. I mean, there's some practices we document in our Making of a Dental Startup podcast, where they're like, I want the patient to know the difference. In the back of my mind, I'm like, can they know the difference? Will they, do you see that or no?
No, absolutely not. No, people don't notice those things. Like, especially if you're very particular about it. Like if you're particular about what you want them to see, you can really sway their perspective in that direction. Like we have 3 TVs for each patient in each op. There's 2 at the toe of the chair and 1 in the ceiling. And that's a very particular design. We want them to focus on that when they're coming into the operatory.
So you have 3 TVs, man.
Yeah.
Do they notice that? Do they say anything about that or no?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100% every time.
What do they say?
Like, wow, there's a lot of tech in here. Like that's like we have a lot of tech. We spend a lot of money on a lot of tech, and we leverage it in that kind of new patient experience to really give them an idea of how we do it. And that's probably the biggest, like our biggest feedback from the patients that come in is say, wow, like this is a ton of technology. It's super cool. I've never seen this before, even though this tech has existed for, years and years and years, and a lot of dentists are using it. The patients don't seem to notice it as much because we're just trying to be particular about showing it to them.
Wow, man. I never thought about that. Like, it's true. You can probably have like the latest, Sarah, they're not going to be like, oh my gosh, that's the latest, but you can have 3 TVs and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is super high tech. Like that's cool. Guys, moral of the story, get more TVs in your op, man. That's going to be, it's going to be like, wow, it's super techy in here. That's cool, man. So then let's talk about employees. How many employees do you have?
I have 8 currently.
Oh, wow. That went fast. Did you have 8 at the beginning or no?
Oh, no, I had 3 at the beginning. I hired a full-time receptionist, a full-time CDA, and a hygienist 2 days a week when I first started. I was going to not hire a hygienist at all. But I had built up a list of people to call back using some of the things that I learned on your course that I did back in the day.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at it and said, I'm terrible at scaling teeth. Like you don't want me to scale your teeth. You want someone that, a hygienist to do it. So I hired one part-time, and then it snowballed very fast.
Wait, you used the ground marketing course?
Yeah.
To hire a hygienist?
No, to build up a list of like potential patients that wanted to come and see us.
Oh, okay, got you. I thought I was like, after this, we got to talk about that because new idea is coming up. That would have been cool. But okay, got you. So then you realize yourself. So you had a plan in your mind, never ever to hire a hygienist, or just later on?
Yeah, later on. Like I was gonna do. I'm $1.5 million in debt. I'm, crapping my pants about all of this stuff, all the money I've just spent. And I'm like, I can't afford a hygienist.
Yeah.
And so that was the thought in my head is I'll scale. It's going to be dead. I'll scale teeth as long as I have to. It's fine. Like I'll make it work. But luckily I didn't have to do that for too long. I did it for, I think, a week and a half before I stopped doing it completely.
No. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you have now 8. How'd you hire all of them? Like, did you find them on Indeed or?
Yeah, Indeed was probably half of them. And I'm in a smallish city, so I'd been here for a couple of years, and so the other ones was people approached me about wanting to come work in the office, and then a couple others was just through, we have a local Facebook page that you just did a post on and got a few hits from that.
That's cool. Have you had to fire anybody so far?
Not yet. No. I've all of the people that I have hired are still currently with me.
Oh, wow. That's good, man.
Mm-hmm.
What is like, so then in total with your employees, or I guess the bottom line, what is the bottom line? Like how much is your overhead?
Overhead, staff overhead?
Yeah.
Staff overhead right now is probably hovering at about 30% of monthly production. It's a little higher than I would like it, but I hired some nice to have staff kind of thing rather than need to have staff. Like I have 2 CDAs, but I also have someone that does all the sterilization. So I have a steri tech. So she flips the rooms and does all of the instruments for us. I have an office manager, which I probably could do all of the stuff on my own, but I have 2 young kids at home. I really wanted a bit more time to be able to dedicate evenings to them. Yeah. And so I promoted her from reception to office manager to kind of unload some things off my plate. And then I guess I hired a bookkeeper too. So I guess I have nine employees. But the bookkeeper is a virtual assistant, which was awesome. Highly recommend it if you're looking for to save a bit of money.
What does your bookkeeper do specifically?
Basically does all of my reconciliation within. So I use QuickBooks for all of the stuff that comes in the business, and she just deals with it all. So she takes the receipts and she categorizes and reconciles everything.
Gotcha. That's smart. Yeah. That's smart. So then I like that. Nice to have staff. Yeah, because even from the very beginning, if you remember when you were a kid, like 6, time was the most important thing for you, right?
Mhm.
So it's like now that you're older, same thing. You're going to be like, I'd rather have more time than, yeah, you could manage everything, but like you're going to be coming home, kids already sleeping. You're like, oh my God, I'm basically my parents all over, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to,
100%.
you don't want
100%.
to do
Yeah.
that. So I can totally get that. Going back to that then. So what is you said it's about 30% of your overall production. What is your monthly production and collection looking like?
We're at about 100,000 a month production right now, and our collections is about the same.
Dude, so you're like on track for a million
We're probably we will get close to 1 million by 12 months.
so your first year.
Yeah.
Your first year, you're almost good. So what's your case acceptance, your treatment closing rate? Is it pretty high?
I would say so. Like most of what we're doing right now is pretty bread and butter dentistry. Like I would say it's a lot of restorations, crown and bridge, some implants, quite a bit of Botox, which is funny. I didn't really think that would be as big as it was, but that's been pretty big. But tons of fillings. We're doing fillings all day long. And yeah, most people are pretty good. Like if I was to look at what this system says here, we have systems in place. Like our case acceptance rate is definitely about 60 to 70%, at least on what's been presented. But even in those patients that don't necessarily do it right away, like we have systems in place to follow up on that. So that's my office manager basically takes these lists of people and follows up at 2 weeks and then at 2 months to try to determine, if we can get these people in to complete this treatment. But yeah, like most people are I haven't a lot of people be too like, I'm not going to do that. Obviously this first 10 months has been an absolute just whirlwind, and I would say we're still ironing systems out and trying to figure out, how to manage our growth and how to come back and see, talk to the people that we saw back in March when we had no idea what we were doing and get them back on track.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that, man. What is the system to follow up with the treatment plan is, let's just say I leave your office right now. Right. And then I haven't paid, or I just get paid for or do you do any like free exams, x-ray, or no? It's not, or like 20% off first visit, new patient special? No.
We're not allowed to do that up here.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. We can't do that. So like I don't know how familiar you are with how insurance works in Canada. But our system's different. Like I don't partner up with insurance providers. Like we set our fees and the insurance company just pays those fees. Like that's kind of what it is. So they, they can't really lower our fees. But as a kind of thing, our college doesn't allow us to incentivize people to come see us. Like we can't even offer free whitening or anything like that. Like that's against the rules.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So then if I were to just come in, get my stuff done, and then later on you're like, hey, you need your mouth is messed up. Like you need a full everything, like implant everything or something. Right. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Do you follow up with me 2 weeks after, then 2 months later, or like that?
Got it. Yeah.
How is the messaging behind that? Is it like, hey, when are you coming in? Or is it more like, we need to see you, this is an emergency?
It probably somewhere in between that, like it's, the girls will call them and they'll say, hey, we saw that Dr. Sanders had some treatment that was diagnosed. It's really important to take care of your health. Can we book you in to have this stuff done?
And then if you don't hear anything, or if you hear a no, you follow up with them 2 months later?
You got it.
And then after that, if you don't hear anything, or it never goes that far?
Well, yeah, generally we'll then see them again at their recall exams, right? Like we're not in the business of pestering people.
Yeah.
Our kind of, one of our kind of core tenets in the office is, be information driven. We provide a lot of info. Like we use all this technology that I was talking about to really try and educate people on what's going on. At the end of the day, I'm very much a proponent of people making their own decisions about what they want to do with their teeth. Like, if you're not going to fix your cavities, like that's on you. That's not on me. I obviously want to help guide them down a path to better health. But yeah, we don't pester them about getting dental treatment done if they're just not going to do it.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah, it's ultimately up to them. So then that leads to the next question about your systems, because this is one system, but what's another system, or maybe it could be this one, but like that you feel, man, I'm so happy I adopted this or created this system. It's been doing wonders for us.
Oh man, there's a bunch of them. Honestly, like, a lot of the stuff that Scott talks about down at Breakaway were really awesome. Like we obviously, took some and left some based on what works in our particular area. But scripts, like phone scripts, those kinds of things were amazing. Like those work wonders. Having a really, really powerful online presence, using social media to our advantage, having people the ability to schedule their appointments online. No one in my town is doing that. No one has online scheduling, and I'm getting people scheduling like 2 a.m. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what people are doing at 2 a.m, where they decide they just want to book in a dental cleaning, but it happens. Like, we'll have holes in next week's hygiene schedule that will get filled on Saturday night. I don't know. It's the strangest thing, but that's been paying dividends. We're using Swell, which has been huge. Being able to people message us on the website, through Facebook Messenger, kind of having all of that stuff in one central area. And then just a couple of some of the tech has been really, really, really powerful to get people kind of bought into what we're trying to do.
That's good, man. So the phone scripts, when it comes to Scott Luna's Breakaway, what's phone scripts specifically?
All of them, honestly. Like they've all been modified to some extent, but people calling in about insurance, people calling in about, or people trying to cancel, people trying to short cancel or do those kinds of things. Price shopping, those kind of approaches. They're all just really good at getting people to book in. Like I find that that's one of the big things is, you call a dental office and they don't actually try and schedule you. They'll answer your questions and, tell you all the info that you want, but they actually won't say, do you want to book an appointment?
Yeah.
And which would drive me mental as a practice owner. You want your team to schedule people in. And so that's a big thing that we really push, to be like, if people call, like try and schedule them, like please.
Like, I can't tell you enough, Jordan, like how, and this is like for everybody, like talk to any agency or marketing person, almost you'll hear like the biggest frustration is the front office just doesn't ask, like, so did you need an appointment? Did you want, or like, can I book you in for the, what I mean? They just don't say it. And so it goes out the window, right? That's like the main thing it would drive all of us crazy. I can 100% agree. So then what are you doing or how many new patients are you getting monthly right now?
Between 80 and 100.
Wow. What are you doing for marketing and advertising?
Right now, during Christmas, nothing. We kind of pulled back in the December months just because everything gets kind of lost in the holiday craziness. But previously we were doing Facebook and Google AdWords, which were working really well. Honestly, one of the biggest dividends in marketing was I took kind of some of the stuff that you talked about in your ground marketing course, and I went into local community Facebook pages. So like in the neighborhood where I live in, we're in a 4,000 home development, and we have a Facebook page, and there's 2,000 people on this Facebook page. And I just went in there, and I went in a few others that were kind of in the neighboring areas, and I just said, hey, I'm local. I'm opening up a brand new dental office in downtown. This is kind of some of the stuff that we're doing. We'd really love it if you would, if you wanted to come in and be a new patient, we'd love to have you. And people were so into it. It was really wild. People were so like, I totally want to support like a neighbor. I want to support, someone that lives in the community. And just hundreds of people just flocked in from that. It was the weird. I didn't expect anything to happen. I was just trying to, stick olive branches out where I could. And they were amazingly effective.
Yeah, honestly, like I said it, I say it in the course too, and you're gonna be I'm sure you're like a lifer, meaning like you're gonna get forever access in the course, and because we're gonna be adding, dude, I got stories to tell you after this, but the thing is like there's a section in there about confidence, and I talk. Remember, it's just asking. Like that is the
Mhm.
one thing you can do that will open the most doors that people don't really do a lot of, and I'm happy, man. I'm happy you're doing that. Like
Mhm.
just literally asking about, um, or just telling people about you, you know,
Yeah.
that's good, man. That's good. So then right now you scaled back on all marketing then, right?
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
we actually we do continue to do one thing, and I don't know how much it results in like actually new people coming in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there aren't a lot of offices in town that are using Instagram that effectively, I would say.
Hmm.
And so we do Instagram contests about 4 times a year, and we did one for December, just to try and gain followers and gain kind of penetration into that particular environment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people have started to come in from that. Like I didn't like if people like every new patient tells us their referral source when they fill out their paperwork.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot of Instagrams now, which wasn't the case initially.
Mm-hmm.
And I find kind of weird that it's like, oh, this office has an Instagram contest, I'm going to become a new patient there. Uh, but heck, if it's working, I'll keep doing
But
it.
hey, let me ask you, because I'm looking at your Instagram right now.
Yeah,
Is it you, the one who runs it?
I run it. Yes.
Yeah, because it shows like, you know what I mean? It's not like pictures of your like you've seen those Instagrams where it's like, hey guys, free whitening like you see like the alpha or like are you in CrossFit or is this like a gym?
Like just a gym. Yeah, like it's the Instagram's very very it's done in a very particular way. I told myself right away that there would never be a picture of a tooth on our office Instagram. It's not meant to be it's not meant to talk about teeth. And I'm not really meant, it's kind of just meant to be like a lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
page. But people freaking love it. Like if
Yeah.
if you look at I tell a weekly dad joke. Like it's ridiculous. Like it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But people dig it. And that's kind of been what's been so effective is just, we're really trying to humanize the dentist in a way and humanize the team, and people are really responding to that.
Yeah. Because like you said it, man, like people want to get behind you. You know what I mean? Your brand. They
Mm-hmm,
want to support that. You can you can get a feeling anywhere, right? Like
mm-hmm,
in other local dentists, but like at being behind your brand, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like that is something that people want. So that's cool, man. So throughout this process, one of the last questions I want to ask you, Jordan, is from the moment you decided to sign your lease till today, right now, what's been some of your biggest struggles or fails or pitfalls?
Oh, well, I think probably just some of the confidence along the way. Like it was definitely, I lost way too many hours of sleep doing this thing. Like it was pretty stressful. And, looking back on it, it seems silly. Like, we're like, okay, like we're going to be fine. Um, I wish I had more space. That's probably like I wish I had more space. I wish I wasn't, there was a unit beside me. I wish I pulled the trigger on that. Um,
Mm,
that was probably the biggest thing I'm kicking myself about. Um, but we've been pretty fortunate, honestly. Like I haven't had to fire anybody. I haven't had to deal with any major setbacks. Like obviously, construction costs were super high. I had to get more money from the bank to to pay for some of those.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I haven't had any serious pitfalls or issues along the way yet, or things that I've seriously had to sit down and be like, okay, this is seriously broken. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I asked a lot of questions up front. Like I asked information and help from all the people around me to try to make it so that I could avoid those. There's
Mm-hmm.
definitely some design elements of the office that in retrospect would have been maybe done better, but it's the first office I've done. So,
Like
who,
which design elements?
uh, you know, we have 7 ops in our the practice,
Mm-hmm.
and the problem is that op number 7 is going to be almost impossible to equip because I have 2 scanners and a pile of, team member scrubs hanging on a rack and no other place to put these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, we had a space issue, or a storage issue, really. And I didn't really think about that early on. I should have, you're always trying to kind of keep costs low, and, rents are pretty darn high. You don't want to spend a pile of money on non-productive space, but, now I have a plumbed op with a bunch of TVs in it that's just storing crap, which is super annoying.
How much is your rent?
It's about $30 a square foot. So that's about 10,000 a month right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm the worst at math. I was like,
Okay.
31,
Yeah.
but okay. Wow. 10,000 a month. And then,
yeah,
you're going to have to make that op happen, man.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Somehow.
Well, yeah, we're, until a second dentist comes along, like we have 6 ops equipped, and kind of firing, but, until that second dentist comes along, we'll be okay.
Yeah. But that's good to hear, man. That's good to hear that so far everything's been kind of going pretty smooth. I mean, like you said, there's going to be anxiety. Did you feel like a lot of that affected your personal life?
To an extent, for sure. Yeah, like, when you're trying to build a practice and you have to answer 25 emails a day about, doorknobs and whatever, like it's definitely pretty all encompassing. And that doesn't even take into account, designing the office manual, and dealing with how the heck you're going to hire people, and, what their pay structure is going to be, and how, like, all that stuff. It was just endless. But yeah, COVID helped a lot with that. There was lots of time to manage some of those things. And I got help along the way, which was really, getting some of, my wife involved, and having her help me just sort through some of these things was huge. But yeah, definitely affects your personal life. I think it's impossible for it not to. My son was born 2 months before we opened. So there was, so, on top of not sleeping because of the newborn, I was not sleeping because of the dental office opening too. So 2021's been busy. I'm looking forward to a bit of a break here at Christmas.
Yeah, man, that's a lot. That's a lot happening for you, man. But I'm happy for you. Everything's going good. If anybody has any questions or concerns, or they want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Honestly, you can send me an email, or they can fire me a message through the Knox Mountain Dentistry Facebook page, or the website. All of those things are easiest ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. So guys, that's all going to be in the show notes below. Definitely go in the show notes below and check it all out. And Jordan, thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure, and we'll hear from you soon, man.
Thank you, sir.